Hey guys, welcome back to Lickbait. Once again, I'm Joe.
And I'm Nate.
Today we're going to go over character creation for Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition. We're going to take it nice and simple and literally go right down the character sheet, explaining how you create your character and what each little part really tells you. Why don't we sink our fangs right into it? We're going to start off with the very most basic information that you'll have on your character sheet. The very top part of it is going to be who your character is in totality. Your name. The character's name is whatever name you wish to give them. Remember, we're in the world of darkness. This isn't Dungeons and Dragons. This isn't Pathfinder. This isn't even GURPS. You don't have to be Hingle McCringleberry III, from the kingdom of whatever. No, you could be John Smith from Chicago, Illinois, whatever it may be. Right underneath the name is going to be the concept. This is an overall arcing ideal of who your character is and what you want your character to be. Very simple. After concept, you have Chronicle. This is going to be the name of the game that you're in. For instance, games that we run are under one large umbrella called Samford and Nightfall. So that is what all my players write under the Chronicle aspect. Take a step to the right, and we talk about ambition and desire. These are two very similar ideals. Ambition is more of long-term goals, your greater idea of where you want to be as the story arcs continue, how you want to grow, and everything like that. Desire is more short-term goals. These can be a lot more fluid and change every session if you want them to. But once again, very similar ideals in totality. Next up, we're going to talk about predator type. This is how you hunt. This is how you feed. Whether it's stalking someone through alleys, picking up hitchhikers, or maybe even making your way into hospitals to grab blood bags to feed off of. Predator type will be just that. How you hunt, how you feed, how you find your way to nourishment. Jumping to the last little column in the very top of the character sheet, we have three things that are tied very strongly together: clan, generation, and sire. When you are turned into a vampire, or embraced, you are embraced into a clan. This clan will give you various things: access to certain supernatural powers, various banes and boons that will help you out in various ways or hurt you in various ways. Generation is how close you are to the very first vampire, and how strong the supernatural blood inside your body actually is. The lower your generation, the closer you are to the origin, to Cain, as most people believe the origins of vampires are. Further away, the thinner your blood is, the less potent and less powerful it is.
Yeah, and if we go right down below that, this is the first place you're actually going to start allocating points. This is going to be your attributes. And you have three columns: physical, social, and mental. And the way it breaks down is you have a pool of points that you can distribute through these. You take one attribute and put 4 dots in it. You take 3 attributes and put 3 dots in it. You have 4 attributes at 2 dots and 1 attribute at 1 dot. So you can decide which is your strongest and then which is your weakest and what kind of lies in the middle on this. And the basic breakdown is on the physical, you have strength, which is your overall physical strength. Pretty self-explanatory. Dexterity, how agile you are, how fast you can move, how well you can keep your balance. And then you have stamina, which is your overall health. Matter of fact, your stamina trait, you add +3 to it, and that's what actually gives you the amount of health that you have in your health pool. Going just to the right of that, you're going to have your social attributes. Charisma, how likable you are. This isn't necessarily how attractive you are, but how good you talk, how well you carry yourself, your overall ability to make other people like you. And manipulation, pretty self-explanatory on this one: how well you can manipulate people, how well you can bring them over to your side. So we talked about it in the roles earlier. Manipulation plus subterfuge is what gives you your ability to lie to people effectively. Then you have composure. Composure is your ability to keep your cool in public and social situations. You're working in a Taco Bell, Karen comes up griping about a burrito, and instead of throwing a fit, you're just like, hey, here's another burrito, you have a nice day. That's somebody with a higher level of composure. Whereas somebody with a low composure would wig out and start throwing stuff around and having a crying, screaming fit. Go over one more to the right, and we have mental. A lot of people use these as dump stats. Not a good idea in this game. This is not necessarily, it can be played as a hack and slash, but people with higher mental traits, a lot of times, find good ways to work themselves into the game. First one, intelligence. Pretty self-explanatory there. Intelligence, how smart you are. Think of it as the IQ quotient. Doesn't necessarily mean you know a whole lot, but you have the ability to learn and know things. Wits. Wits is how quickly you can think on your feet. Somebody with a high wits level would be a stand-up comedian. Wits can also help you when trying to avoid danger, figure out if somebody's lying to you. Resolve. Resolve is how mentally tough you are. This is your ability to put your head down and keep bearing through things. Somebody with a high level of resolve would be, like someone in the special forces that's used to going without sleep and without food for long periods of time, and being put under a lot of mental duress. And also, willpower is going to be a combination of your composure out of your social attributes and your resolve out of your mental, is what gives you your willpower skill that we'll talk about later down on the sheet.
The next section we're going to get into is your skills. Very similar to your attributes, your skills are separated by physical, social, and mental. This is where there's a lot of fluidity. When going to choose your skills, there are 3 different ways to allocate skill points. It kind of tells you how many points you have. They actually specifically have names. There's the jack of all trades. This is somebody who's going to have more skills than others, but they may not be as good at the skills themselves. The jack of all trades will start with 1 skill at 3 dots, 8 skills at 2, and 10 skills at 1. Once again, showing a large wheelhouse of capability is a good way to put it. The next one down is called balanced. This one will start at 3 skills at 3 dots, have 5 skills at 2, and 7 skills at 1. This is going to give you a good amount of skills, but your skills will have higher capabilities and higher numbers in totality. Last and not least is going to be your specialist. The specialist is going to have the least amount of skills, but they also have the greatest capability in those skills. Specialists will start with 1 skill at 4 dots, 3 skills at 3, 3 skills at 2, and 3 skills at 1. Now let's dive into some of these skills and talk about them a little bit. Starting with your physical. I'm not going to go down the whole line. I'm not going to tell you every single one, but we'll give you some ideas. In physical, the first one that comes up is athletics. This is how athletic you are. Are you capable of running a 5K without losing your breath? Maybe you're a parkour guy and jumping from house to house and building to building. The higher your athletics, the more athletically capable you are. One thing I always try to bring up when people are making their characters is a differentiation between 2 different physical skills that seem very similar and may even be able to be synonymous at times. But in this game, brawl and melee are 2 very different things. Brawling is just that, your capability to get into a fist fight, punch, kick, do whatever damage you need to without having a weapon in hand. Melee is the opposite. Melee means you have something in hand. Maybe it's a cast iron skillet. Maybe it's a knife. Maybe it's a stun baton. But as long as you have something in hand, you're going to be using your melee skill instead of brawl. One last one, just to kind of give you an idea of the last bit of physical skills. Stealth. Stealth is very important, once again, to creatures that go bump in the night, especially when everybody has a camera on their phone and can instantly upload videos to Facebook or TikTok. Stealth is very important in this game in a lot of ways. Going from the physical right into social. Mr. Nate, you want to take these?
Yeah, social skills falls in line with your social attributes, even though not always. Sometimes you mix and match them a little bit. Main ones that I always like to go over, make sure people understand, streetwise. Streetwise is a really good one to have. It's your knowledge of how things in everyday life in a suburban area works. Of course, this could also be for a rural area. You know where Ted the Moonshiner lives if you live out in the sticks someplace. In a city setting, you know what areas are good, what areas are bad, maybe if different gangs control an area, who the drug dealers are, where the best clubs and best bars are, your general ability to kind of navigate your way around any given environment that's more of a city setting. Another good one to have always is insight. Insight is your ability to read people, basically. You can kind of get an idea of what someone's mood is, if they're trying to lie to you, if they're hiding something. Animal kin is something a lot of people overlook in this game, but animal kin can actually help you out because animals don't like vampires. Higher level of animal kin not only makes it to where you can more easily train animals that you might want to have to use as guards and things like that, but also make it to where animals aren't necessarily as afraid of you. Those are the main ones I like to go over. Everything else is pretty much self-explanatory on the sheet. So last one's going to be mental, Joe.
Absolutely. As Nate stated before, mental attributes and mental skills a lot of times are overlooked, which can be a huge mistake in this game. Mental skills range quite far, honestly, starting with things like academics. How much time you've put into studying and schooling. The more dots you have in that, the more educated you are, the more easily capable it is for you to readily have information available to you. One that is used all the time in my game is awareness. How aware are you of your surroundings? Is there someone following you? What is this person saying that's across the room? General awareness is always a great thing to have, especially in a game where you're playing a supernatural undead creature. One more that I like to bring up and talk about specifically is occult. Occult is a general knowledge of supernatural and just mysterious arcane things. This can literally range from knowing more about being a vampire or what all supernatural creatures may be out there. Maybe you find a ritual circle written in sand and you're able to instantly know what the purpose of it was. One thing to note, there are certain skills that will automatically come with a specialization. Now, a specialization means that you get to add an additional dice to your pool when using these skills and the specialization within it. There are 3 specific skills that automatically come with a specialization. Those skills are craft, performance, and science. To start with craft, maybe you're good at pottery. Maybe you're a photographer. This is all things that will be the ideal of craft specializations. Performance is just as it sounds. Are you a singer? Are you a guitarist? Are you an interpretive dancer? The last one, science, is what type of science you've studied. Is it biology? Is it thermodynamics? You can generalize in science to an extent, but if you choose to put a point to science, you will automatically get that specialization of your choice.
I always enjoyed thermology.
Oh, there you go. Good times. Next up, we're going to go down to the next section on the character sheet. Nate's going to talk to us about Chronical Tenants.
All right, Chronicle Tenants. Think of these kind of as a social contract. This isn't necessarily something that is an in-game stat, but more like an agreement that everyone at the table comes up with. Kind of like the idea of lines and veils. And depending on, the people in your game, what you want out of the game can depend on what's in the tenants. Like, for instance, on our game, we're pretty loose with everything. We don't really have a whole lot of boundaries. The only thing that we have in ours is nothing with kids. No hurting kids in any way. Kids are completely off the table. But for some people, it might be, you have a player at your table that really can't do body horror. So that would be one of your Chronicle Tenants, no body horror. Now, Chronicle Tenants are not always a no. Sometimes there's something that the players want, and it's a constant reminder on everybody's sheet of this. For instance, if everybody at your table wants to play sort of a spy thriller type game, espionage and stealth could be 2 of your Chronicle Tenants, because that's how your players want to try and do most things. If they wanted to be, near dark and, be a nomadic band of marauding vampires running around just tearing everything up, that could be something you put in your Chronicle Tenants. It's all just what you want out of the game, and it's put right here on the front of the sheet so that everybody has a constant reminder of either what they don't want or what they do want in the game.
Always remember that this is still a game. We all get together to have fun and enjoy ourselves. That's why these Chronicle Tenants are so important. Next up, I'm going to talk about touchstones and convictions. Touchstones and convictions are your ties to your mortal life. Your touchstones are more physical things that remind you of your humanity. Maybe it's a family dog, a picture of your deceased mother. Maybe you still have a brother that's alive that you want to check in on every once in a while. These will actually help you regain willpower and bring you back from the brink of being that beast that now resides within you. Convictions, on the other hand, are a bit more ephemeral. This is your ideals that still hold sway among your mind from your mortal days. Maybe you're an honorable person. You don't like to lie. You don't like to steal. These are convictions that you've held on to for years and years and years that still play a part in your now immortal life.
Yeah, convictions could be seen almost as a kind of code of honor, if you will. Things that maybe you latch onto or you adhere to that help keep you from just completely going bestial. Now we're going to go on to one of my personal favorites, clan banes. The reason I like clan banes so much is because they add so much flavor. This is one of the things that really is a constant reminder that you are playing a damned creature. Clan banes are things that were put on to vampires from the very beginning. This was literally God's way of going, you're damned. So every clan has a particular bane. Some of them are the classic, vampire tropes, like have to sleep with 2 hands full of your native soil or can't go into a house uninvited. Others are, a little more odd, like you're enamored by things of beauty, whether it be a piece of art, a beautiful person, a sunrise or a sunset, which those would be bad things to be enamored by for a vampire.
Very bad.
But all of them are a different thing, and they can impose not only penalties on roles when they're activated, but also can, in a way, cause you to come up with a derangement centered around that particular bane if you botch the rolls or have a critical failure. So next, Joe gets the nice big meaty part, the disciplines.
This is everyone's favorite part, supernatural powers. In Vampire the Masquerade, these supernatural powers are called disciplines. Each clan has their own disciplines that are very innate and almost come with the blood that's within you. These powers will come in wide varieties, from your typical superhuman strength, exceptional speed, or even the capability to take a grenade to the face and laugh it off. And then you get into some of the more fun ones, whether it be the capability to make your eyes glow red and see in the dark, or turn your hands into claws of an animal that can literally tear steel apart.
Yep. Turn into a bat.
Turn into a bat, or make someone else turn into a bat.
Well, something bat adjacent anyway.
Bat adjacent. I like that. When you first create your character, you will have access to 3 different in-clan disciplines. While creating your character and choosing your powers, this is how the disciplines will work. You will start with 2 dots in 2 of those innate disciplines. You get a 3rd dot from your predator type, but we'll talk about that here in a little while. There are some caveats there. If you are a low enough generation to where you're a thin blood, things get a little muddy. That's going to be its whole own video. And there's also one other caveat in the way of caitiffs. Those who are never actually part of a clan. Somehow their blood didn't really set with a specific clan bane and specific powers. These do exist. But again, that's for a later video.
Okay, for the last part of the character sheet, we have all of your trackers here. First one's going to be your health. That's where you keep track of how much damage you've taken and how good a shape you're in. And these come in 2 different varieties. You have aggravated, which is very bad, comes from fangs of vampires and werewolves, sunlight, fire, all do aggravated damage. These can only be healed over time. And then you have superficial damage. Superficial damage can be either soaked or healed using a rouse check and using the blood. So way easier to get rid of. This is stuff like gunshots, knife wounds, getting hit in the face by a brick. All these things you have the possible ability to either just shrug off or heal instantly. The next one down is your willpower tracker. This shows how much willpower you have and how much willpower damage you've taken. Willpower damage can come in different forms. Somebody really, really hurts your feelings and you botch a roll on it, or, you see an eldritch horror and it throws your mind out of whack for a little bit. Willpower also comes in superficial and aggravated damage. Superficial willpower damage can be healed by contact with your touchstones or other ways of coping. Aggravated damage, on the other hand, it's only really going to heal with time, and once again, another thing that has a possibility of giving you a derangement. Next one down is going to be humanity. This one tracks how far you've gone down the road to just being a complete beast. Most average normal humans that have a 7 or an 8 humanity, you're not a saint, but you're also not a horrible person. You know it's wrong to kill people, cheat on your girlfriend or your wife, steal, things like that. Next one after that is going to be your hunger tracker. This shows how much hunger you have. If it's empty, you are full, you are sated, everything is good. Every time you fail a rouse check, you'll add a mark to this. When you wake up at night, you'll do a rouse check. If you don't make the rouse check, then you get a dot of hunger. You have to go feed to get rid of it. Hunger can be taken away easily by feeding on blood. Doesn't necessarily have to be human. It could be animal, could be bagged. Just all depends on the next thing we're going to talk about, which is your blood potency. Most of you are going to be playing 12th, 13th generation, possibly thin bloods, 14th or 15th generation. For the new licks, the 12th to 13th generation, you're going to have a blood potency of 1 to start with. If you play a thin blood, you'll have a blood potency of 0. Blood potency has certain things that it controls. You'll see a section down below blood potency with things like blood surge, mend amounts, power bonus, rouse rerolls, feeding penalties, and bane severity. All these things are controlled by your blood potency. The higher your blood potency, the more of a blood surge you can have, which is the ability to use your blood, do a rouse check to add to your physical attributes. The mend amount, that's how much damage you can heal in a given turn by doing a rouse check. Power bonus, this is something that adds bonus dice onto your disciplines. Rouse rerolls, awesome thing to have. That's how many times you can re-roll a rouse dice if you fail it. Feeding penalties, now this is the downside. Not everything's cookie. Some of it's going to be having to drink your milk. So the feeding penalty is the higher your blood potency gets, the more you have to sate you. When you start going up in blood potence, you might end up having to start draining a human completely to get rid of that last dot of hunger. It might get to the point where animals no longer provide you any nourishment. You can't feed off of bagged blood. And then eventually, if you get old enough and somehow or another figure out a way to lower your generation enough to get that high, then you could end up to the point where not even mortal vitae will sustain you anymore, and you have to start feeding on your own kind. Now,
nobody likes the elders.
Yeah, nobody likes the elders because of that exact reason. Now, below this, you're going to see two places with darker highlighted areas. One is resonance. The other is hunting. Hunting is where you put your dice pool numbers for your predator type. So it's just a quick reference right there. This is when you use your predator type to hunt. You get to use this dice pool to make your rolls for it. Resonance is an attribute of the blood. Different blood resonances have different qualities. You have people that, are melancholy and they're depressed and all this. Well, that's melancholic blood resonance. And blood resonance has different effects on different disciplines. So, for instance, if you were using potence to increase your strength and to do, acts of superhuman strength, then you would find a gem rat somewhere, drain him, and then boom, you get a bonus to that discipline. You don't write anything in resonance on a regular basis. This is something that happens with your storyteller when you feed. Unless you were looking for a particular type of blood resonance, they'll do a roll to see what randomly comes up. And then you write that down there, and then for the remainder of the time until the next time you feed, that's the resonance you have, and those are the bonuses that you're going to get.
Well, we've come to the bottom of the first page of the character sheet. We're going to call it a night here, keep things nice and concise and quick and easy for you. We're going to finish up the character creation video in a part 2. They'll be out very soon. Make sure you hit like and subscribe so you know immediately when it comes up. Once again, I'm Joe.
And I'm Nate.
Thanks for coming back to Lickbait.
See you later, Licks.
Jerry. That is a terrible vampire name. Jerry?